Israel would conduct a 3-year staged withdrawal from occupied Sinai. There would be limited autonomy for the West Bank Palestinians, followed by further consultations on their future after 5 years. These were the 3 main points. Peace, beautiful peace, sang the nightclub entertainer in Cairo. But there was more to peace than an end to killing. Eager plans were made to cash in quickly if peace came. The businessmen made plans for trade agreements. A Cairo tour operator eyed the new market.
For Egyptians to visit the holy places in the Holy Land and in Jerusalem is a very important part of everybody's life in Egypt.
In Tel Aviv, his Israeli counterpart rubbed his hands at the prospects ahead. They had their brochures ready. Soon, it seemed, Israelis would go on camel rides around the pyramids. But ordinary people did not think of money.
How important is it for you personally that this peace happens?
I think it's the most important thing in my life, because this peace influence all my areas of life.
When you hope for something for 30 years, or maybe even more than 30 years, even before the State of Israel was born, when you live in either before or after a war, and suddenly there is a chance that there might be peace, of course everybody is excited about this.
Suddenly, the map of the Middle East changed dramatically. In Iran, the mob took to the streets, and the Shah, America's so-called strongest ally in the area and a friend of Israel, was toppled. There was a new urgency in Washington. Something had to be salvaged from the wreckage. Israeli agreement to a target date for West Bank elections, the stationing of an American peacekeeping force in Sinai, Egypt to keep defense pacts with Arab states, but the US will provide Israel with safeguards. But what can the Americans do to protect Israel and Egypt if the Arab states oppose the deal? I put the question to Colonel Jonathan Alford, a strategic expert.
I think very little. I mean, this must be a worry from the part of the American negotiators and the president that if it goes wrong, if a Camp David Accord cannot actually be brought to fruition, then you have a whole lot of countries which are going to doubt the credibility of the United States, are going to look perhaps more to Moscow, and are, in a sense, going to say to themselves, the United States is a bag of wind.
Israel and Egypt are surrounded by Arab states hostile to the Camp David agreement. Syria, too, has suffered in wars with Israel and is powerful among the Arab states hostile to Camp David. Her troops keep an uneasy peace in strife-torn Lebanon. In London last night, I spoke with Syrian ambassador Adnan Omran.
We rejected Camp David Accords because we believe that they will not achieve a peaceful settlement for the Middle East problem. They are a sort of another Balfour Declaration. They are aimed at, or they're claiming that they're going to solve the Palestinian problem in the full absence of the main party to this dispute, which is the Palestinian people. Therefore, we do not believe that this agreement, if signed, will achieve anything. There is a very important fact which the American administration should come to understand. That is, when they push a regime into adopting a policy or position which is not popular internally, they are creating a gap between that regime and the people. And no American support can save any regime of that sort. So Camp David agreement will not meet any support in the Arab world, not in Saudi Arabia, not in the Gulf states, because it is, as it is, against the interest of the Arab people. So the Iranian lesson must have an impact on Carter, and he must realize that the only way to stabilize regimes anywhere is to narrow the gap between these regimes and the interest of their people.
But is President Carter wise to risk his reputation on a Middle East trip? This morning, I put that question to Foreign Secretary David Owen.
Yes, I think the dangers for the world in the Middle East situation not being resolved peacefully are immense. The dangers to the United States are immense. The whole question of oil supplies is at issue. So it's a major issue. He has already taken risks. I think myself he's going to reach an agreement. I think they're closer now than they've ever been.
Now, you say that you think they're near an agreement, but will that agreement really mean anything? Surely, until there is an agreement that recognises real homeland for the Palestinians and in fact deals with the PLO, is there ever going to be real peace in the Middle East?
No, I think this is the first building brick, if you like, in what must be a comprehensive peace settlement. This deals substantially with the issue of Sinai and paves the way, if the will exists, for detailed negotiations on Gaza and West Bank. Gaza will be a little easier. West Bank will be immensely difficult, and I think we would be blinding ourselves if we thought that this agreement of itself would solve the problems in the Middle East. It won't.
Dr. Owen, can there be a settlement in the Middle East which leaves the Russians out of the negotiating process, which President Carter appears to be doing at the moment?
I doubt in the final analysis whether if the Soviet Union decided to oppose it, it would be possible to have a settled peace. I think their influence on many of the Arab states is still considerable, and even of the frontline states, their influence on Syria is quite important. President Sadat, by his own initiative, has, I think, changed the whole climate in the world towards the Arab intentions, and particularly in Israel towards Arab intentions. You see, he has jumped the major hurdle of accepting the right of Israel to exist. And if that could now be spread more clearly into the rest of the Arab world, then I think Israel will also have to, Israel, for instance, will have to stop settlements in the West Bank.